Hello, Luca. It's very nice to see you. It seems like the weather is nicer where I am than where you are at the moment.
Actually, here it's surprisingly blowing a gale at the moment, and the harbor is closed. So it adds a bit of drama to the already pretty bad medical situation that we are experiencing. That is actually kind of dramatic at the moment. Not enough places in hospitals, hotel rooms using as hospital rooms. Well, something that is happening in some parts of Europe and is hitting this time Valencia very hard, and so far has been spared.
We are pretty cautious in Norway too, although we have escaped pretty well up until now. But I guess the place to be right now is in Auckland. It seems to be virus-free and it seems to be a lot of fun. And that's what we're going to talk about. And to our readers, this is Luca Devoti, who is a good friend and who is the Olympic medal winner, silver medal in Finn in 2000. He was heavily involved in the Plus 39 Italian America's Cup Syndicate in 2004 as a skipper and technical advisor. And since 2006, I think it is, you have been running an academy for Olympic sailors in Valencia. But we are going to talk about the America's Cup, the Prada Cup, and what is the situation in New Zealand at the moment. You were on the Tom Iman show the other day, and you focused very much on the crew rather than on the technical side. And let me ask you first, Luca, are you surprised that the boats seem to be so equal in speed right now?
I mean, I'm not sure they are so equal in speed. I think the Kiwi boat is still quite a lot faster. The other three are similar in speed, and they are at the similar stage of development. In reality, these new classes had no training, no time to evaluate, so they're on a very steep learning curve. And somehow they are matched. They have different problems, and the problem even up. So it makes for very interesting racing.
So do you think that there is still a lot of improvement from now up until the finals or the Prada Cup, and even from then up until the America's Cup in March, that there is still a lot of ways to improve?
I think so, mainly in the way they sail the boat. In terms of gear, we have seen Prada changing their foils. They have new foils which I think have the same platform from looking at pictures. Might be a little bit thinner, a little bit more designed for stronger winds, and have a shorter flap. So they have less wetty surface, possibly are a little bit more difficult to trim, and should give them an advantage in strong winds. And of course, they will not lift up so early as they are doing now in light winds.
But you were saying earlier that the improvement is going to be in boat handling, and we've seen now that the configuration of crews are quite different from between the three challenging boats. Can you comment on that? Italians with two helmsmen, the Americans with the grinder, who is also the tactician, etc., etc.
Oh yeah. So Prada has gone for a solution where they have two helmsmen, and always the windward one steers, and when the other one is left on the leeward side, he just does the flight control. And they basically have no tactician. The mainsail trimmer is Pietro Sibello, good 49er sailor, a bit unlucky in Qingdao when he finished fourth with the strange last race. He's the only one that has a little bit of a chance to look outside of the boat. But at those speeds and with those prices, it's very difficult to see the race course. They possibly calculated that with the boundaries and the speed and what they were losing in tax, what you would just do would be to go from boundary to boundary. And so you didn't really need to look at the race course. It was just about positioning, and the software would have done everything. And that is not really the case, and we are seeing the Brits sailing much better. Just got moving around in the boat, looking outside, and on the very shifty course that they were racing in these first regattas, that gave the Brits an advantage. So this is one thing, and the other thing is how you trim the boat and the development of the sails and the systems to trim the sail. I mean, this double mainsail is also something completely new, and I'm sure just on the system they can improve a lot.
But about this double helmsman situation, it must be quite difficult in the starting procedure where you have to act very quickly, and that there is one guy on the right side and one guy on the left who are steering, and how can they, tune in completely to each other?
It's very difficult. Very difficult, and they have had some problems, even though they claim they've had very good starts. In one day, they changed over and they were just late. We haven't really seen very heavily fought starts so far. They're still learning to drive the boat. So it's early days to judge the double helmsman situation. I don't like it personally. I would never adopt that, but that's me. And I think there the Brits have done very well in the engineering of their grinding system. So they're able to sail the boat with 6 grinders instead of 8. They always push forward. They have much more room being diagonal. They have a continuous transmission that now Harkin admitted they use exclusively. And they must have a very clever software in how to allocate power to everything, as they seem to trim the sails faster than all the other two that are doing the product cup. So that gives them a huge advantage, because then they have a dedicated helmsman, a dedicated tactician, and 2 flight controllers that at need can also grind, but are not grinding all the time. So it's I think a much leaner, much cleaner setup than having 8 people grinding on 2 pedestals per side, one pulling, one pushing, and therefore having less hands and minds to control the boat.
The Ineos team has a pretty good relationship with Mercedes, and that may influence the system that they have. Automatic gear system with the grinders. Is that possible?
It's sure. I don't know if they have co-designed with Harkin the continuous transmission. So there's no more button and going forward, going backwards, but they grind at a certain intensity. They have heart rate monitors and all the rest. They're connected to the watts they produce, and they just monitor so they can do their maximum output for 20 or 30 minutes without having to stop and not going over the aerobic threshold too much. And so they produce an immense amount of power. Also, they have huge grinders. They're very strong guys, very big, brittle car. They also sailors. I don't know some of the other ones, but they really are strong. So this is where most have not focused. I think Ineos, one by one, have better athletes in general than all the other teams in every role.
And they have 2 key people in the Afterguard, Ben Ainsley and Charles Scott, who are both Olympic champions in Finn, and very young guys, and they seem to have a very flawless communication between them.
Yes, and also they are absolutely made for the job. They are extremely focused. They don't get excited. I mean, you see the press conference yesterday when asked about that, they said, well, we're a long way from being good. And when you hear them, for us, they are nearly perfect. So, yeah, they are used to work very hard, and they have a system that is a winning system. And they are incredible athletes, And the class they come from has teach them to perform under incredible physical pressure and taking continuously decisions, because in a sailboat you maneuver so many times that you rehearse the decision-making process much more often than in fast boats. I mean, you might do 80 maneuvers in a regatta and in a race, and in a fast boat you might do 8. So it's all their life they've continuously taken decisions and quick decisions, and they are phenomenal champions and at the peak of their careers. So they are actually very, very strong. I mean, they have to be respected.
So that's
the Kiwis also have incredible athletes, and Luna Rossa and American Magic have sailors that come, let's say, more from the big world, even though Bruni has done 3 Olympics, but he's already 47. And not as successful, obviously, like Ben Ainsley, but I mean, Ben is the most successful sailor in sailing history. Yeah. So, they have very, very tough opponents to get used to. And also getting into the cup. Nobody had raced for a long time, and they haven't really been able to sell the boats because of COVID. They haven't done pre-regattas. So it is who picks up the nuances of the boat faster, who gets the rust off faster. And of course, these guys that come from active Olympic campaigns have it easier to get off the rust faster and get to their best performance.
How much is it going to hurt the Americans that they are out of it for a couple of weeks now, when the others can continue to tune and improve?
It's difficult to say. It could paradoxically be even better for them that they've had this, so they can come down and regroup with their setup with Terry Hutchinson at 53 grinding. They would have got exhausted to the semi-finals and the finals, and now they have no pressure. There's nothing to lose. It'll be a miracle if they're able to put the boat together, and if he sells, and they'll do their best. And they are very, very good sailors and very sensitive sailors. So they have a chance. The boat was fast in his position. They're strong. The only boat that in the Christmas race beat the New Zealanders, and so they cannot be excluded, even though.
Excuse me.
No problem.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's
yes.
difficult to see them winning the Prada Cup and the America's Cup, but the race is over only when it's over. So we can. They're going through very tough times, so we can only sympathize with them and see what kind of show they're going to be able to put up on the water.
Do you think they would regroup so that they will have a tactician who is doing only that, and not combine the role of a tactician and a grinder?
It's very difficult to change the setup on board because they have the people they have, because they developed the part they developed, and if they felt that they needed to add 2 more hands on the handles, probably they needed that. So I don't know. It's difficult to say. I would certainly preserve him and allow him to look outside and be more rested when he takes decisions, as I feel that the rush decision that led to the capsize was also due to the fact that nobody would see the gas coming, and so except Goodison. So yeah, they have some problems there, but then again, they're overwhelmed by the boat. They haven't sailed it enough in those conditions, and they're on a learning process. So it depends a lot on the conditions, where they'll set the race course. This is very close to shore with gusts coming in, big shifts. Then you really have to look outside. It's not a computer game then.
We have seen in some of the previous races where it's been very little wind that while one of the boats is sitting in the water, the other gets lifted and runs away, and it's being turned around very quickly. Is that good for the sport, or is it bad? Should it be a higher minimum wind so that everybody can foil, or what do you think of that?
Possibly higher minimum winds would solve the problem. But then again, these boats have such a small range. You reduce this even further, you end up risking not sailing for a month in a row. I mean, really, this boat can sail well from 10 to 20 knots. Anything below and anything above is more difficult.
The catamarans had winged sail, and these boats have I wouldn't say traditional, but at least they're using sailcloth. Is this an improvement? You think that they have two-ply mainsails that they can tune differently?
Improvement. I mean, it makes life easier because to step out a rigid wing of that size is dangerous. If stronger winds come, you cannot lower the sail. You cannot leave a camera on a mark with the wing up. So the wing was totally practical. It's just madness, This double mainsail, I don't even know if it's faster than a single skid mainsail because it will inevitably be heavier. It could be a little bit faster, but it's a bit more the game we know. Even though, we don't really know what they have inside to trim, twist, to induce the twist in the top. Some have a boom, some don't have a boom, so you get a deeper profile at the bottom. It's a pretty sophisticated arrangement. That's why I say there is a lot of room for improvement, even in things like sails. And we can judge the shape a little bit from the videos and the pictures, but not really, so we don't really know.
If you were to pick a favorite now to win the America's Cup, would you be willing to do that?
I still believe Team New Zealand is faster. Sailor-wise, it's a pretty even match. Both extremely tough. The Brits are better match racers, possibly more experienced. Berling is younger and a phenomenal sailor. It'd be a beauty to see them racing if that's going to be the final.
The defender will have a disadvantage in that they will not have anybody to tune against now for the next month and a half, whereas the challengers will race not only this coming weekend but also for the finals later. That must be a disadvantage for the defenders, don't you think?
Possibly, but then again, I'm sure they have a full development program of how they want to improve the boat. They know exactly where they are. They came out with the straight foils when nobody had the time to copy them. And in my opinion, they are an advantage simply because the uprighting of these foils is a little bit better, and the leg is a little bit longer. So it's like having a wider boat, the point where the foil pushes the water is a little further out. And that goes over the considerations of the ideal foil configuration within the box that was given. So I think they have an advantage there. Other teams thought about doing that, but they didn't have time enough. So, and surely they have some other things up their sleeve. Their hull design is very interesting and possibly the best out there. So, and they are very experienced in these flying boats. So. And they seem the ones with the most integrated concept, when they design the boat, they consider all aspects of the design of the boat. The English boat was an attempt of doing that. They started later, so they had a disadvantage there. They didn't write the rules, and they went a bit extreme on some things that might bite them back, like the chained bulge they have under the hull, which is possibly faster aerodynamically, but then a bit slower when you have to take off. But it'll be fascinating. You don't really know the little changes here can make such a difference in speed that watching the races will be an honor.
It will be interesting. Luca, tell me a bit about your sailing, the academy that you are running in Valencia. You have been doing this for some time, and you are working with Olympic sailors. You are originally a boat builder. You started Devoti boats that are still very active, but without your daily participation. You find it more interesting to teach?
I was always more the commercial and creative mind of the yard, and not really the hands-on guy. We started in England. I had a good partner then. Then a guy that helped me win my medal in Sydney became my partner from Czech Republic, old-time Finn sailor. and he's done a fantastic job. He's an engineer, and he actually runs the yard. With all the difficulties that we have nowadays, uncertainty on the Olympic program, nobody knows when races are going on. Real economy is extremely tough at the moment, but we are surviving, which is already something. The center, of course, is destroyed as the Finn taken out of the Olympics, as reduced activity, plus you can't really travel in and out from the Valencia community, and so the situation is dramatic. I have two sailors that will go to the games in Tokyo if they will be staged. Argentinian Facundo Leza, a real talent, and Venezuelan Andres Laje that is improving in the game. So we're going to see and enjoying these last months of fin sailing, and then we'll see what happens. We're waiting for the LC to take the decision, and then we'll decide what to do.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Luca, for joining us on a Friday afternoon, and our readers will see you tomorrow, and let's see what happens in the Prada Cup. It's going to be very exciting, and thank you very much for sharing your insights.
It is very exciting, and it gives us a breath of fresh air in these difficult times, and sailing still being a fabulous sport, and this new boats resembling very much the sailing we love. So I can only wish all the best to all them racing there, and I will watch with passion.
Absolutely. So will I.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.